Well, hello everyone, I'm Brandon Bonifer, and you are on Focus. Today, we're bringing you a story about a community united. Yes, throughout the last few weeks, this pandemic has definitely brought a lot of change to our community, to our state, and to our nation. But what's been great and positive about that is so many individuals from all walks of life are collaborating and bringing different opportunities, excitement. We've been seeing people support our businesses through takeout programs. We've seen people backing our egg industry for what they're doing. We see all the energy that's going into our school system as these teachers and these parents across our area are trying to adapt and bring social distancing as a promise, but at the same time, bring in that vital education through this virtual learning that we're so much establishing. And then, of course, there is everyone that's in the front lines, if it be from our public safety officers to the people in the medical field, and those that are even dealing with the groceries and the items that we need every single day. This is a community that is definitely united, and we are moving forward. And throughout this broadcast and all the broadcasts, we're just trying to bring other people to the front to try to give you guys the most information about what's taking place and still try to keep you guys connected. And today I have a fun program for you. I have members from the United Way, Ashley Wench, from Marshland Area Community Foundation, Stacy Schultz is with us, and Super Sox, Cheryl Lewis Hartle is here. And today we're going to talk to you guys about what they're doing, what their organizations have been embracing, and how they're collaborating for our community. So we'll first start with Ashley. Tell me, Ashley, what have you guys kind of been experiencing in the last few weeks? What has been some of the needs that you guys have seen, and just kind of what's been racing throughout the United Way?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So, like everybody else in the community, our organization has been adapting to change first once Governor Evers closed all the schools, and then a second time once he ordered the safer at home order for everyone in our state. So, for the past few weeks, we have been collaborating with several community organizations, two of them being with us today, Super Sacs and the Community Foundation, to make sure that we are providing resources to those in need in our community. Um, I'll have Cheryl maybe talk a little bit about our collaboration that we've been working on and how we've kind of had that evolve over the past couple weeks, and then maybe Stacy can just kind of intro what we've been working on more recently.
Ashley and everyone else. This is a great opportunity to get it out there what we've been doing. So, the emergency food boxes were our first plan of attack when this all came down 3 weeks ago. And then, when things changed, we switched up instead of being open every day to hand out those emergency food boxes. We switched to only being open Tuesday and Thursday and for a 2 hour time frame and a curbside only delivery, and that's been working really well. The boxes we've been creating ahead of time, so we're well prepared when people come in. We make sure that we have enough for United Way to handle the delivery end of things, and also for some of the outlying communities where they take those things, and enough for everyone that's driving through Super Sacks.
And then over the last couple of weeks, have you guys noticed an increase in the need? Has it slowly been growing? Has it been pretty steady throughout the last few weeks, or kind of where's the need assessment at this point?
Definitely, our needs are growing. Each week we've been doing this. I think Cheryl said she saw over a dozen new families that reached out for services, and we have increased from about a couple dozen deliveries to 70 this week. So definitely seeing the needs increase. And I was just kind of going to add a little bit too, Brandon, to what Cheryl was discussing. So um, our now program is kind of what we've been partnering with Super Sacs with, and so making sure that children who are no longer receiving the meals at the schools, that we're beefing up those emergency food boxes with the kid friendly food that we typically provide in our now families, to any family that's currently needing some help with food. So Cheryl's handling things on the end at the food pantry, and then we've had a wonderful group of volunteers that have been helping us deliver to homes that um, may have transportation barriers or are homebound for whatever reason. They're delivering to the Marshfield residents, and then we are also coordinating with a bunch of the elementary schools in our surrounding communities to make sure any families in need are getting what they need as well for food in their communities.
Have you had a lot of people connect with you asking what you guys need, or have you been pretty efficient in your guys' own needs at this point?
We've really had a lot of people reach out to us and ask if we're still accepting food donations, given what's going on. And the answer to that is yes, but we would prefer that they contact us. We have a specific list so that all the boxes are packed with the same items. So we have kind of a specific list of what we put in those boxes. So if someone's interested in donating food, they should get a hold of us. I can tell you the things that we run out of most often are pasta sauce, mac and cheese, and canned fruit. Those are really hard for us to, we're going out and shopping for those frequently.
There are some non-food related items that we've been in need of, and those have been like brown paper grocery bags, small um, boxes, maybe the size of like a paper box or a little bit smaller than that. And then also we're seeking egg cartons because we think we've found a resource to help us purchase some eggs because that's been something that I think everybody can relate to. They've been difficult to find and they've kind of been scaled back as how many you can buy. So we have the ability, we think, now to get some eggs, but we would love some cartons to be able to divvy them up.
Oh, that is awesome to hear. So you guys have really, this has been a growing thing each and every week. You guys kind of been adding to what you're trying to do as far as community outreach goes. One question I have from you is obviously this kind of all really came really quick and really fast. How has other players in the community, if it be the city, the school district, how have you guys been able to connect and kind of move the ball forward?
I think from the get go, there's been a great collaboration between a lot of our community partners, making sure that we're aware of one another's needs, helping out where we can for one another, and just making sure that we're not overlapping any services. So, if we have an area of expertise, that we're sticking to that and that all of our community partners are aware so people are getting to the right places for their needs.
Absolutely. Community partners are everything. And that's one thing I think that Martian does a really good job and we shine on it.
Um, I, I don't, this is Cheryl Brandon. I would say that we just really need to um, reiterate to the whole community that we are all in this together. And some of the restaurants have been stepping up and donating food and stuff too, so that that doesn't wind up in a dumpster. We're able to get it out. And my volunteers who are out on the real front line handing out the boxes to the families that drive in, they report back to me that the families are just so appreciative and excited. I mean, they were excited last week because they got a loaf of bread. I mean, that's the least we can do. That's fabulous.
No, absolutely. I think what you said there is it sums it up. I mean, definitely having the ability to serve one another is so powerful. And there's just so many different people in so many different industries that are serving in such different ways. It really, for me, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've just seen like if there's anything that comes out of this pandemic, I think we're going to come out a lot more united. I think it's brought a lot of realities that we all have similar wants and similar beliefs, and we all want to see each other succeed, and we definitely want to see the community grow. So, the see that you guys are collaborating, to see that you're able to meet some of those needs is really powerful. So, on the line with us, we also have Stacy from the Marshall Area Community Foundation. Stacy, we've been talking with partners at Super Sox and United Way here the last few minutes about what they've been doing in the community, how they've been serving, how people in the community have been helping them meet those service needs over the last couple of weeks. What have you guys really been kind of focusing on, or where's your energy been driving you guys at the foundation?
Right. Thanks, Brandon. Hey, so what? Well, first of all, like everybody else, we've been trying to get used to working remotely and still being able to answer calls and get mail and all that stuff in. Um, but really, Ashley and I have worked pretty closely since we both started as directors to just really keep a pulse on where the needs are in the community. And we've always been talking. So that was one of the first calls I made and just said, Ashley, what do you guys need? And, where can we put our resources? And we took some time to really think that through. We know that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, that we're going to have to be facing needs, immediately and long term. So we wanted to think of a way that we could make sure that this partnership isn't just going to, come and go quickly with all the money getting used right away, that we are able to help out in the long term. So that's been great. And Ashley, of course, is super easy to work with. So that's been very nice. We've had some donors reach out to us and say, how can we help? And so that kind of helped us drive the decision to start this collaboration, to get some funds out to nonprofits as fast as we can. The other thing we did recently was, we have what's called designated funds at the foundation, and so every year, about 30 or so nonprofits get funds that have been designated to go to them. So they'll get 4% of that, what that fund is worth every year, depending on what the spending policy is. And typically, those checks have all gone out in November. And late last year, the board and I decided, why don't we get those checks out sooner? So those checks just went out last week, and they've been rolling in. That was about 30 organizations got a total of $65,000. Some get a couple hundred, and a couple get a couple thousand. So I know some of that went to United Way as well. So that was nice. That felt good to actually get some money into the hands of the people that need it.
Well, that alone seems like it's going to make some type of impact, and that is really cool to see that you guys were able to do that at the community foundation. Now, you guys are probably all wondering, those that are listening, why, the title of this podcast, United Community, is what we're focusing on today. And obviously, we have different uh, arms in the conversation that are really helping shape our community and take some ownership of it. But, we've touched on a little bit briefly, collaboration is so important. But we have a kind of a pretty cool big announcement. I think it's big. I think it's really big. Anytime you see, three organizations coming together and you see a considerable amount of money being put towards something to really provide some relief for our community is just amazing. I guess I don't know who to pitch it to. First person that gets a go. But what is the big announcement or the collaboration that we see in front of us?
So I'll start, and then I will maybe let Stacy just follow up with my comments. So, like Stacy mentioned, we have been working for the past 7 to 10 days on how we can work together to make the greatest impact in our community. And so, I would say about 10 days ago, we had launched a COVID-19 response fund here at United Way, and a partnership with the fund and grants just seemed like a very natural fit for us in the community foundation. And it will allow us to leverage our resources to make a greater impact and to make it easier and more efficient for our nonprofits who are very much boots on the ground to get some resources that they need. Stay?
Yeah, and just to kind of go on top of that, so like I said, donors have been reaching out to us and they want to know, where can they best meet the needs of the community. And so we had an anonymous donor working with us, and Ashley and I, we were talking closely with our boards, and we are both able to contribute, our organizations $10,000 each, and then this donor contributed 10,000 as well. So right out the door, we've got $30,000 to be able to get out to nonprofits that are going to need that right now.
So let's just pause there for a second. $30,000 has been provided so far into this COVID-19 relief fund. 10,000 from three different areas. That's awesome. And I want to go through the relief fund a little bit, but I know those that are probably interested are motivated and inspired by that. You still have the ability, if there's individuals that are out there that want to contribute, there's still that opportunity for them to contribute to the relief fund. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Brandon. So $30,000 is a really great start, but like Stacy mentioned, this is going to be a marathon. So we completely understand we have some immediate needs we need to address now in the community, but there's going to be needs for a really long time after all the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is going to have for our community and our surrounding area. Um, so people are able to make monetary donations on either one of our websites. And maybe we can kind of go over some contact information at the end of this podcast. I don't know what works well for you, Brandon. But they can also mail checks to the community foundation, or I would say give a call to the community foundation to figure out the best means to make their monetary contribution.
And we've seen so many people over the last few weeks, if it be singers and songwriters and just individuals on a national level, have been doing things to raise money throughout the nation. And to see us having an opportunity to really contribute to funding a program that's here in our local area is really important. But I think even more important to that is I see on the press release here, it says 100% distribution. And initially, I think, oh, great, you're going to spread out the funds. 100% of what's collected is going to go out. But reading in the description of that, I see that you guys are waiving any administration fees, and that 100% of the funds collected will go directly back into donor gifts. Um, how important was it for you guys to put that into the relief fund, and what kind of impact does that make on your organizations?
Just from my perspective, it really seemed like a no-brainer to me. In our day-to-day operations, we have administrative fees so that we can, run a business. But this is such a unique circumstance. One of the real blessings that I have, being with a foundation, is I belong to a national organization called the Council on Foundations, and um, it's such a great resource for us. And so when Ashley and I started talking, other foundations throughout the US are already talking about collaborations that they're making, and we were able to see, half a dozen different examples of other collaborations. And Ashley and I, we didn't make this up. I mean, we talked to each other, but really this is what people are doing across the US. Is foundations are joining together with United Ways. And I would say most, if not all, are waiving that admin fee. So when we kind of saw that in writing, to me, I don't know about you, Ashley, but it just seemed like, well, of course, we're not going to charge any fees for that.
Right. Obviously, like you said, we have a job to do, but these are unprecedented times, and our community needs us more now than ever. Um, it was never, a second thought as to whether we wanted 100% of our donations to be put right back in this community.
So, guys, as we continue to have our conversation, one thing I want to touch on is all of us have had to embrace technology in the last couple of weeks as we learned how to virtually connect, as we try to really affirm social distancing so we can move through this pandemic as swiftly as possible and save as many lives as we possibly can. And so far in this podcast, we've been connecting with the Marshall Area Community Foundation, Super Sox, and United Way about how they're coming together to bring support for our community. And we've just touched on this last little segment about a new relief fund that's initially starting out with $30,000 in the fund that's been brought together by 3 donors. We've been talking with these organizations about how you can get involved and contribute to this fund, and how the fund is going to be distributed throughout the community. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the organizations that are seeking funding and how the grant process is being put together. I'm going to start with Ashley. As we come together and we talk about combining these organizations and bringing this funding together, how are you guys going to keep the organization stable? You mentioned here in the press release that you guys are establishing a committee. How will that be oversighted, and how will you guys move forward?
So, first, maybe the first part of your question, I'm going to kind of start with the grants and the grant process. So I think I mentioned before, we're trying to make this as easy and efficient as we possibly can. So there will be a link on both of our websites, Marshfield Area United Ways and Marshfield Area Community Foundation. It is a very simple form. We obviously know that we're all doing added duties or different duties, or maybe both. So we don't want this to be a hindrance to an organization that needs um, monetary resources. They could go to our websites. They're going to apply. Um, It's just a very few brief questions. And then we have formed a committee between both of our boards, just a few members from each one of our board of directors. We'll be making all the grant decisions, and I think we've committed to trying to have a turnaround time of 72 hours or less.
Now, when you say that you guys put together an application, obviously a lot of this had to come together pretty swiftly. Has there been different organizations that you've had in mind that you thought that might apply for this? And as you were doing the questions and developing these grants, you really try to tailor it to be as universal as possible? Or is there particular things in the application that you're really looking for those that are looking to request some of these dollars from the relief fund?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So we're looking to help out our local 501(c)(3) organizations, and we're looking to help where there's been added expenses due to the COVID-19 pandemic, whether that's, supplies or additional staff time. So um, those really are kind of the stipulations or parameters that we're kind of our eligibility for anyone looking to apply for the funds.
Yeah, and as you guys have been coming together and putting this all together, I'm sure you guys have had a lot of questions for one another. And I'm sure those that are listening or reading through the press release are going to have questions as well. How can they go about connecting with each of you? And quite frankly, where should they begin? Should they start with Stacy at the foundation? Should it be headed to the website if they have questions about needs or giving? Is there different channels you guys recommend people going? And I guess I'll turn the question first over from the funding side of it. Stacy, what's your role in that versus what's United Way's role in that?
Right. So one of the things, and Ashley and I talking is I wanted to kind of try to lighten the load for her to field some of those questions and to take in those funds. We can be the fiscal agent. So as far as just any initial questions, I can certainly try to answer those. I am working remotely most of the time, but I pop into the office and I can check my messages. So if people call the foundation, I might not answer, but I check my messages throughout the day. So if they call 715-384-9029, I might not answer them then, but I will answer them within the day. And then they can also send emails to the foundation as well at the MACF at marshfield area community foundation.org. We have a fact sheet that we can certainly send out to people to answer some of those general questions as far as who we're funding or how do you apply. We want to make that as easy as possible, and I certainly want to make that easy for United Way as well because they're very busy right now.
So, Ashley, when it comes to your part in this, what kind of questions do you anticipate people might ask you, or how should they connect with you guys in regards to your role in this, as from the United Way standpoint?
Yeah, we are still here every day. Our office is closed to the public, but we welcome any sort of questions, whether that's giving our office a call or emailing us. We're here. It is great to have Stacy's to be able to um, handle and manage the fund um, and the distribution of the grant dollars because we are very much um, boots on the ground, like she said, every day. So our jobs have what that looks like here has changed so much in the last 3 weeks. So that's why this partnership has been so wonderful to start because um, there's only three full-time employees at Marshfield Area United Way, and we have one part-time. So we're using all of us to make sure we're addressing all the needs that the community is having right now.
And we say community, obviously, it's larger than just the Marshfield community. You guys have an arm that reaches into several areas throughout the greater Marshfield area. As you kick off this relief program and start to answer questions and just be there for the community, how can the community connect with you? What are some of the best ways for them to get your guys' contact information? Is it through online, social media, email, phone? What's your preference, or what's the best channels during this time?
Yep. So I'll just kind of give you all the different avenues. I can't say anyone is particular better than the other. It just kind of probably depends on the day and time right now. So if they'd like to call our office, our phone number is 715-384-9029. 9992. If they like to email us any of their questions, they can email info@marshfieldareaunitedway.org.
Absolutely. If you guys don't have a pen and paper with you, that will be in the description. There'll be a link that provides you that contact information. So it's quick and easy and in front of you. And I think we want to try to make this time as easy as possible for everyone. And it sounds like you guys are definitely trying to take every effort that you can between being able to receive funds, write grants, review those grants, and get those funds redistributed. I think the community definitely thanks you guys for all the effort that you guys are doing. If it be from food service to this or that or the other thing, you definitely are some pillars in our community. It's we've been able to talk to a lot of individuals over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and as we all kind of accept this new norm and we learn to embrace the technology and we just try to make the best of it, we've also heard a lot of people step forward with just inspiring stories and just doing amazing things. Matter of fact, I think it was last Friday, we saw throughout the community different businesses and employees just did sidewalk decoration across the clinic and public safety buildings here in town. And that is just that those little things, those little mindless little actions mean so much. And you see the kids throughout the community doing the same thing on sidewalks. I have to imagine your guys' organizations, you guys are always in a role where you're trying to help support those and fill needs and find gaps and service those. But has there been any moments in the last few weeks where someone has kind of come to you, if it be an individual, a donor, or organization, and really has just kind of inspired you by their generosity or they're willing to contribute or volunteer?
Well, yeah, I mean, the donor that came forward to us and said, "We want to help, and what can we do as a team to really, inspire the rest of the community to join in?" And I mean, that $10,000 donation, I mean, that was huge and very inspiring.
And I'd like to just add, if I can, Brandon, this is Cheryl again. The volunteers stepping up and really thinking of the community and not themselves at Super Sox has been phenomenal. We've this last week now we had three girls that are AmeriCorps members, and their normal position was with YouthNet, and obviously that's not going on right now, and so they've come and helped, and they're just phenomenal. They're a ball of energy, and they're willing to do, and I mean, they're going grocery shopping, they're filling boxes, and it's just been fabulous to see how everyone has come forward to help out. Everyone wants to help.
I was going to add to that. Cheryl kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just the gratitude and appreciation we're receiving from those we are able to help um, just reminds you every single day why you get up and you're doing what you're doing. And it's because um, we love our community and we are all in this together. And it has been really inspiring to see how we're helping one another out, whether it's um, sewing surgical masks or getting takeout or mm, donating food items for us. The messages on the sidewalk, everybody, we're all in the same boat and we're all in uncharted um, territory here. So um, just the community in general, I just feel so grateful to live in such a wonderful, giving, generous community.
No, I think you guys are all right. From our side of it, we've seen so many stories, and some of the stories that have been most impactful for me are the stories about from individuals that are in need, and they're the ones giving. I've seen restaurant waiters and waitresses turn over their tips to provide food for others that couldn't afford a meal. And I just think when you start to see those things, it just really it really hits at your core, and it really does show that what we have here in this community in the greater Marshfield area is a very, very beautiful thing. And for those sometimes that get discouraged about things not going the way they want, or maybe roads not being repaired as quick as they should be, when you look at the core of what's here as far as a community, it is fabulous, and there is a heart there worth uh, that's just priceless. On behalf of everyone in the community, I thank you guys for what you guys are doing. It takes they say it takes a village to, grow a family, or however that phrase is. But it is truly the truth. Before we go, guys, I just want to give you the opportunity to say any last messages that you might want to share, maybe something we didn't cover, or just something that, just kind of comes to mind. But again, thank you, Ashley, Cheryl, and Stacy, for joining me here.
Well, Brandon, I'm just so appreciative that you were willing to talk with us today. I think the more that we can get the word out, there are certainly organizations out there just not knowing how they're going to open their doors again. And I think that this is hopefully a little, ray of sunshine for them. And I, I, I agree. I mean, our community has always felt like a very giving community. I have no doubt that people are going to continue to step forward, and I'm excited to see what we look like in a year. Because I felt like this was a pretty close community before, and this I feel like is just bringing us alone together, like they said. It's bringing us closer, even though we can't be together right now. So, thank you, Brandon, for doing this for us.
For me, I'd like to just thank everyone that's staying home and staying safe, because it really is super important to keep our social distance. So we try to limit the spread of this pandemic for our community. Um, Stay safe, and please reach out if there are any resources, whether it's food, whether it's something else. We're all here for one another, so um, don't be shy to ask for help if you're in need.
Yeah, and I would like to just kind of follow up on that with that from Ashley with the reaching out, especially. We talked about our numbers of deliveries growing from the first week to the third week, and we said, if that's because people are staying home like they are supposed to be, that's great because that's what we need. Wood County so far has been doing pretty good with their caseload hasn't been huge of positive cases, and we'd like to see that continue and improve. And then, I just want to thank both of these groups too for coming together on this as one of the organizations that has been involved with. We've really gone through our supply of stuff that we had from Winter Wonderland. We were looking forward to empty bowls. We were looking forward to the food drives to restock the pantry. And I've often joked that if I ever start to ask for green beans or corn, you're going to know we're in trouble. And we may be getting there before this is over. So we're going to have to look, down the road to how are we going to restock when we can reopen, hopefully, in a couple of months. So I want to thank them for coming together to bring this opportunity to people to donate.
Well, thank you guys for sharing your time with me, sharing your stories with me, sharing what is going to come. I think we're all a little bit uncertain what the future holds, but at the same time, I think we're all excited to see that as we embrace each other, embrace this community, there is definitely some light in front of us. It might not shine all the way through the darkness, but it definitely does light the road in front of us and gives us some hope for the next few days. If you guys are listening and you're a business, you're an organization, you're someone in the community, and you have a story to tell, if you have some sort of inspiration or a message that you want to get heard, please, by all means, feel free to give myself or anyone in our staff a holler. We built this platform over the last few years, and it's become the largest in our community. And we didn't build it for ourselves. We built it for everyone that's listening and everyone that's out there. I learned a few years ago that when you build something and you get others to contribute to it and you share that message across the platform, you invite different people from different audiences to hear each other's stories. And that's what this is all about. This is our story, Marshfield. This is our time to shine. This is the time where we're going to look back and generations are going to see us and they're going to say, this community bit off a lot. They chewed through it, and look what we have today. I'm Brandon Bonifer from OnFocus. Thank you, and stay tuned for more coverage.